The Christian Divorce. Chapter 1. The Christian Divorce. Christians and Divorce. It was also said, anyone who divorces his wife must give her a written notice of divorce. But now I tell you, if a man divorces his wife for any cause other than her unfaithfulness, then he is guilty of making her commit adultery if she marries again, and the man who marries her commits adultery too. Matthew 5:31-32. No human must separate what God has joined together. Matthew 19:6. Any man who divorces his wife for any cause other than her unfaithfulness, commits adultery if he marries some other woman. Matthew 19:9. Other passages that deal with divorce are Mark 10:11-12 and Luke 16:18. Divorce for Christians is the same as for everyone: loneliness, bitterness, and legalese. John the Baptist lost his head because he spoke up about Herod's wrong move to take his brother's sister as his wife. Then his new stepdaughter asked for John's head on a platter, which was promptly delivered. Some Christians say divorce is a failure of the union created under God, but others say that some unions weren't blessed by God and not meant to be so. If one is being a jerk, like beating the wife or controlling her, the wife doesn't have to sit there, take it, and simply try to be a good wife. She has the right to leave and find a loving man. Clergy is stuck between a rock and a hard place because they know that much of their parish has been divorced or are contemplating it, so it's very difficult to preach about the sanctity of marriage with the high divorce rate and the inherent unfairness of having somebody stay with a deadhead spouse just because it's God's law and supposedly a sin to divorce except for infidelity or spousal abuse, so irreconcilable differences don't cut it in with God's court. A Christian preacher I saw said, if you're getting divorced, increase religious activity. Talk to a religious priest or elder, go to church, join a church group, read some Christian books, family.org, take time to heal, don't do the rebound, listen to God, don't get bitter, be open to finding the right partner in time, and most importantly, restore yourself. Divorce is most certainly about loss, anger, and frustration as people try to cope with what is often one of the most painful parts of their lives. There's a spiritual and practical aspect to it. You have to get your head in gear but also take care of regular everyday business, especially if you have kids. The most common symptoms of divorce are anger, depression, trying to cope with new child custody arrangements, and lack of money, since everybody loses out money-wise in a divorce. The first focus has to be practical matters. You can't let yourself go in facing the daily demands of life, like work, or for some who don't work, like a mother, getting out of bed in the morning to do something inspired with your life. After that, you have to let go of the anger by forgiving your ex-spouse in your soul, so says a Catholic pastor running a divorce workshop. He says anger ends up hurting the person who feels it more than the target of it. He says go back to your faith to help you heal. A divorce support group made up of a close-knit group of people who have gone through the same thing, namely a kind of painful betrayal, is good to talk about things from finances to new relationships and keep it all in context with the Bible. Christ teaches us to forgive everybody, even bad people, so you should forgive because in the end, it helps to heal you. If you don't, then your ex-spouse will always have control over you. Budget your money. Avoid impulse purchases and emotional spending to try to make yourself feel better. It's a cheap trick and doesn't really solve your problems. It just gets you deeper in debt. Rushing into new relationships is also dangerous. The general rule of thumb is that for every year of a relationship, give yourself at least a month of healing before you get involved again. When you're on the rebound after a breakup, you tend to have raw, unrealistic emotions and skewed judgment. You can get very involved with somebody for the wrong reasons, who's not right for you. It could be for the attention or sex and not for love. Don't date until the divorce is final. It might stop a possible reconciliation, but even if not, it's too early anyway. For the friends and relatives of divorcees, don't judge them. Help them. Christian books about divorce are at #242.6433 or BL625.9 at the library. Catholic Divorce Info. The Roman Catholic sacrament of marriage is grounded in permanent commitment. If a couple wishes to enter into a true Christian union, they must intend to commit themselves to each other for life. The Catholic Church strives to help couples marry well and to prevent divorce. Many couples marry unwisely, even Catholic couples who have taken the mandatory Catholic premarital program. If a Catholic marriage breaks down for one reason or another, the Church has a process for releasing couples from their marital vows by the process of annulment. An annulment is a decree that judges that never was a genuine Christian marriage in the first place. It is a decision made by the Church after at least one member of the couple has petitioned it to dissolve the marriage because of one circumstance or another. The legitimate justifications for annulment are loosely classified as the following: addiction to something, adultery, emotional illness, immaturity, mental problem, violence. The process of getting an annulment starts at the local parish level. You go in and explain the situation, either alone or with your spouse. The priest or other clergy interview both parties to the marriage. It generally takes up to 18 months to process the case. There is no official charge, but it is generally expected that you donate a few $100s for services rendered. Go to your parish priest. He will set up a church court called a marriage tribunal who will discuss your divorce and possibly ask for friends and relatives to speak on your behalf. Your ex-spouse will be contacted and invited to attend. The general gist of it is to paint a picture that your ex-spouse was the bad seed, not you, such as in cases of domestic violence, alcoholism, inability to support the family, etc. The tribunal then retreats, deliberates, and makes a decision. If you don't like it, you can appeal several more times, taking your case to Rome if need be. This process could take anywhere from 3 months to several years. The Catholic Church recognizes two aspects of marriage: civil, religious. Before you get an annulment, the rule is that you have to get a civil divorce first. This will enable you to remarry in the Catholic Church. The annulment is resolved by the church court or a marriage tribunal. When you are granted an annulment, it doesn't make the children illegitimate. These matters are regulated by the civil courts. Many Catholics often get a civil divorce and do not get an annulment either because they are afraid or ignorant of the process. The Church itself does not grant annulments in all cases. Their standard is that they will grant annulments to marriages that were flawed from the beginning for whatever reason, but if a couple has an apparently strong marriage for several years or more then want an annulment, the frowns on good marriages gone bad as the basis of an annulment. The one advantage of an annulment is that it allows a Catholic to remarry within the Church. Without it, a divorced Catholic cannot remarry in the Church. The Church prohibits a second marriage without an annulment. They want couples in troubled marriages to try to resolve their marital problems. There are many Roman Catholics who divorce and marry a second time outside the Catholic Church. The Church accepts this. After all, there's nothing they can do except possibly lose the parishioner if they criticize him or her, so they ignore it. There's no talk of excommunication to a second marriage without annulment as there was before 1977. In 1981, Pope John Paul II, in a letter on family life, stated that those who remarry without church approval remain full members of the Catholic Church. Before these times, such people were excommunicated. The Catholic Church continues to help divorcing Catholics and make life easier for them within the Church. Annulments are now easier to get. The Church wants to keep its members and not alienate them. Some churches have special counseling services for parishioners who want to remarry after an annulment. North American Conference of Separated and Divorced Catholics. 1100 South Goodman Street, Rochester, New York, 14620. 716-271-1320. North American Conference of Separated and Divorced Catholics. 80 St. Mary's Dr. Cranston, Rhode Island, 02920. 401-943-7903. Christian divorce websites: christiandirectory.info, evangelicaloutreach.org/divorce.htm. Angelfire.com/law3/CDR, Christian Divorce Recovery Program. Angelfire.com/OK/Bible teaching/divorce.html. Bluepages.com, Christian Divorce Attorneys. carm.org/question/divorce.htm. groups.yahoo.com/group/divorce_recovery. christianityvice.net/christian_divorce.htm. christiananswers.net. christiandivorce.net. christianforums.net. christianitytoday.com. christiansonline.com.au. christiansupport.org. ctlibrary.com. divorcehope.com. divorcehope.com/christiandivorcecounseling.htm. divorcehope.com/christiandivorcefacts.htm. divorcesource.com. fmh-child.org/divorce.html. frankca.com/divorce.html. freshestartseminars.org. family.org/married/topics/0025105.cfm. marriagedevorce.com. onlinelegalcenter.com, get legal advice on Christian divorce. picketfences.org, divorce recovery. preventingdivorce.com. rejoiceministries.org/contacts.html. religiostolerance.org/chr_devo.htm. sowingzedsoftfaith.com/divorce1.htm. stepfamily.asn.au/seek/divorce/christian_divorce. stopdivorce.org. truthcast.com/agape/000630 christian_divorce. wayoflife.org/fbns/divorces.htm. you-can-stop-your-divorce.com. whyutopian.com/religion/theology/divorce.html. divorceform.org. American Association of Christian Counselors. 800-526-8673. aacc.net. Counseling for Divorce. American Association of Pastoral Counselors. 9504 A. Lee Highway, Fairfax, Virginia 22031-2303. 703-385-6967. Fax 703-352-7725. info@aapc.org. aapc.org. Worldwide Christian Divorced Fathers. 1429 Columbia Drive Northeast, Albuquerque, New Mexico 87106-2632. 800 My Daddy. Some Christian divorce websites from blog.feedspot.com/Christian_divorce_blogs. AfterDivorceMinistries.com/blog. DivorcedGirlSmiling.com. DivorceMinister.com/n. GaryThomas.com/divorce. MidlifeDivorceRecovery.com/Susie's-blog. SinceMyDivorce.com. SurvivingTheHepain-of-Divorce.blogspot.com. blog.feedspot.com/UK_divorce_blogs. blog.feedspot.com/divorce_podcasts. blog.feedspot.com/divorce_YouTube_channels. feedspot.com/news/Christian_divorce.